conference. Recording should be turned on for you. We're going to go straight to Ben Ransom at Sky Sports. Morning, Ben.
Lovely. Thanks very much, Lee. Steve, good morning. Most of us, I'm afraid to say, are waking up in lockdown today. Thankfully, this time, as opposed to March, football's able to continue. I just wonder how much of a responsibility do you feel this time around to keep lifting the spirits and giving us all something to focus on that's positive?
Well, I certainly think the last time when we came out of lockdown, the number of people I've bumped into said that, to watch the match, even though it's strange the way it is, and it's still strange, don't get me wrong, give everybody a lift. So in this awful time that we're all feeling, and how lucky are we are the fortunate ones that we get tested regular. Everything's put in place for us to keep on working and keep on performing, and if that gives a little lift to everybody concerned who are suffering like we all are in this awful time, then great. It's as I said, we're very fortunate that we are one of the lucky ones that can keep on performing.
And how important is it that the players all adhere to the rules, given some of the negative headlines we've seen over the last few months, where people obviously haven't done it and then been caught out and that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's important for everybody to follow the rules, isn't it? I mean, if of course we're in this situation that none of us have faced before. So the lockdown now is aimed at that we have to adhere to the rules, and they're pretty straightforward. I think the problem we've had in the past is that there's a complication of the rules. Thankfully, at the moment, we understand the situation. We're locked down, do as we're told, and let's see if we can bring this infection rate down.
This season, we seem to have spoken a lot about penalties. There's been a pretty fierce debate over the last few days about whether strikers indeed are clever to win a penalty. I mean, Jose Mourinho was quite strong yesterday in defence of suggestions Harry Kane was exactly that. I remember hearing Callum Wilson say that he felt he had to be clever to win the penalty against Everton. I mean, what's your view on those kind of penalty incidents? Are strikers being clever?
Well, I think now with the addition of VAR, I think what things are, it's if there's contact at all, it looks as if it's a penalty. Whereas that's the big change for me. If there's contact and if there's contact, it seems as if they're given. Maybe a couple of years ago that wasn't the case. It was, yes, there's contact, but it was enough to bring you over. So it's sort of changed on it, and we mess with it a bit. And for me, it's not great where we've had one given at the weekend, although looking at it, I did think it was a penalty because the reaction of their boy is he's hurt his foot by kicking him. That was the big giveaway in it. But I have to say we've had some soft ones against us. I think we're all scratching our heads to say, is this right? But because make no mistake, we've got the biggest and best spectacle because the Premier League has got a certain physicality about it, and we can't lose that identity, because if we do, then we become like everybody else, and that's not the way forward.
The suggestion is the strikers are being the clever ones. Does that by rights mean it's the defenders who are the daft ones? I don't know.
It's always the defenders. I mean, you can't make a tackle these days. You can't have a slide tackle. You can't make a tackle. You can't touch everybody. You can't jump with your arms in the air. You can't block a shot and unless your hands are behind your back. It's ridiculous. Where do we stop? It's all geared towards, always has been. But that's why they get paid the most, the strikers, because they're supposed to be the clever ones. And I was going to swear there, but I can't. The defenders have got to be a bit more clever these days, I suppose.
Can we talk about your striker then for a moment? Because Callum Wilson has settled in really quickly. Did you expect him to hit the heights so early? Is he at his best already, do you think? Can he improve?
We hoped he would. That was the idea. And that's what we did. What we did was to take away that element of getting to know the Premier League. He's been in around the Premier League now for a good few years. And, he works hard for the team. He's a really good boy, great lad. Works hard, he's decent in the air, he's got good pace, he holds it up well, and the most important thing, he does is score a goal, which I think he's got 3 goals from a yard this year, which is an unbelievable knack. I mean, you can't coach that. It's just that instinct to being in the right place where you should be when a ball flashes across the 6-yard box or the goal line, as far as he's concerned. I think he's got 3 this year, which just goes to show of how important it is to be in there and score a goal. He's done very, very well. He's settled in very well, because it's never easy to be the centre forward in Newcastle. So fair play to him. He's grasped it, and looks as if he's enjoying his football at the minute.
Has he put himself back in the conversation for England with Gareth Southgate in your squad?
I'm sure he must do, but look, I have a hard enough job picking my squad, let alone letting do Gareth's job. But he certainly must be in with a shout, because of the amount of goals he scored in the season he's having.
And just on the international break that's coming up, is it a bit of a double-edged sword this year? Obviously, you want your players to get that recognition, I'm sure, but the international breaks, the player schedule's already so hectic. They've got 3 games to squeeze in. For you as a club manager, that must be a difficult situation to manage.
Well, it's very difficult for us all to manage, of course, and more difficult it is the players. And I think we've already seen a large increase in injuries. Certainly, soft tissue injuries is up by something like 40-odd%. In 8 games they've played, so it's very, very difficult to manage. And the players are the schedule of these top players, the international players, is just borders on. I have to be brutally honest here, borders on being ridiculous. So look, the esteem of playing for your country I can get. We're all desperately hoping that Callum Wilson gets in the England squad, because it would be great recognition for him and great recognition for Newcastle. But there's a bit of me to say, well, it'd be nice to give him a few days off and all, to make sure that he's okay in a couple of weeks' time.
That's really kind of you, Steve. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Ben. Vicky Sparks, PLP.
Hiya, Steve.
Vicky, good morning.
Good morning. So, team news ahead of Southampton. Any new concerns or anything?
No, everybody's okay. Everybody's come through and trained all week. No, we're fine.
Obviously, apart from the long-term absentees, that must be really pleasing then, given the prevalence of injuries in the Premier League.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've had a fair share. We're still without John Joe, and we're without young Longstaff's okay, and Dummy's okay, but obviously John Joe's recovering, and Matt Ritchie's recovering from his operation too. So yeah, we've had to deal with a few, but touch wood at this particular moment, we're not too bad.
And in terms of Southampton, they will be without their main man up top, Danny Ings, for this one. A big blow for them. He's obviously been in brilliant form.
Yeah, I mean, one of the main reasons is that they've had the 12 months they've had is the performance of Danny. And I think I speak on behalf of all football fans that we're so pleased it's not one of them ones where it's going to keep him out for another 12 months. Thankfully, it looks as if it's a minor operation won't make him out for 4 to 6 weeks. This is recording the reports, of course. And I do wish him a speedy recovery. He deserves a bit of luck, because the way he's come back with 2 cruciate injuries is quite a remarkable achievement. So I wish him the best of luck. I'm so pleased that it's not that serious.
And they've been going brilliantly recently, Southampton, haven't they, under Ralph Hasenhuttl?
Yes, and since the turn of the year, really. I mean, they've been in and around it. They've had a remarkable 12 months, because I think it was only 12 months ago that they lost heavily to Leicester. The way they've all performed since then and turned it around is fair play to them. They've got a very, very good side, So it's going to be a tough place to go, that's for sure.
And just on Hasenhuttl, he had such a reputation when he came in from Germany, had ups and downs early on at Southampton, but they gave him time, they stuck with him, and it looks as though they're reaping the rewards of that decision as a club.
Well, is that what you're saying? Is they can see behind it? Yes, they've had an awful result, which can happen, but they've seen past that and realised that he's a very, very talented manager, and give him a bit of time, which we all crave for. Not often given these days, but fair play to them. They stuck by him, and they're getting now their return.
And Newcastle have been tough to beat on the road so far this season. How much encouragement does that give you?
Well, I think I've said, look, there's no real advantage of playing at home or a disadvantage away from home. It's we could maybe play on even a training ground. That's the way it is. That's the way it pans out. It's still strange for everybody, but there's no advantage or disadvantage anymore, in my opinion. But we've done okay on the road, though, so I hope that continues. I think we're unbeaten so far this season on our travels, so let's hope we can play well and get another decent result.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Thanks, Vicky. Mark Shirley, BBC.
Morning, Steve.
Morning.
Do you think the Premier League will settle down after a while in this strange season, or do you think a Southampton could stay right up there in the top 6 or top 8?
Well, I think for the good of the game, it's refreshing to see Everton at the top of the league, and Southampton with the possibility of going top of the league if they beat us, I believe. So I think it's really good for everybody concerned. How great it was a few years ago when Leicester surprised everybody and won a Premier League. So, I think that's the beauty of the league we play in. It's not a given to anybody. So, but it's good to see other teams thereabouts.
You mentioned Leicester, and I think Vicky alluded to it, that incredible Southampton 0, Leicester 9. Ralph Hasenhuttl was obviously in the centre of a storm there and rode it out, and look what he's done since.
Well, fair play to him, because it couldn't have been easy, that's for sure, and his players. Look, they're reaping the reward from it. I think certainly in 2020, the season, then there's probably maybe Man City, Liverpool have probably pulled more results together. So fair play to them all. They've certainly had a great, since that time, that awful beating what they had, then they've performed very, very well and look a very, very good side, I have to say.
And on the training ground this week, what do you think that Everton result has done for kind of general self-belief in the squad?
Well, it gives that little bit of confidence, which the result does. That sometimes it's the manner of it too in which we played, which was pleasing. So I hope the supporters have enjoyed watching that team play and getting a result against a really decent Everton side. And let's have more of the same. We'll have to play well to get something out of Southampton. And then the international break and a nice easy one against Chelsea. So this is the Premier League. It's so unforgiving. But we'll keep plodding along the way there.
Each game as it comes. Good luck, Steve.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Simon O'Rourke, ITV.
Hi, Steve. Just a couple, really. I mean, obviously, everybody in the country is talking about going back into lockdown today. It occurs to me, for you guys in the football industry, it doesn't really change what you've been doing for the last 6 months.
No, I mean, look, for everybody who's suffering with this lockdown, like we all are, I class us as one of the fortunate ones. I really do. I mean, we're tested twice a week. We've created this unique bubble which seems to have protected certainly the football player and the staff in and around the club. Touch wood, we haven't had really many infections at all. So I hope that continues. And for everybody in the lockdown, look, it's an awful time for everybody concerned. So if we can play our part a little bit, where they can at least on a Saturday or a Sunday watch the match and not have to pay for it, then if we can bring a bit of joy to everybody, then good.
Last one, Mark touched upon it just there, but I can't remember a league more volatile at the start of a season. I mean, that's obviously probably partly down to the unusual situation that everyone's in, but do you think it creates more opportunity for everyone that?
Well, I think you're right about it's the unique situation. Basically, the teams haven't had the chance to prepare, and players have been asked to really play through a season. March and April really was the time off, although we didn't give them any time off, we trained them. So it's been really, really difficult to manage, certainly when you look at the injuries situation and that's spiraling. Basically, it's the lack of preparation, and teams have not been prepared, and that's been the difficult part of it. So it's been a bit unique, where I've seen some really ridiculous, what with the surroundings and no support, we've seen ridiculous results. Because it's different. But as I said, we're the lucky ones, and it's better than nothing, but it's still a strange environment we're trying to play in, that's for sure.
Thank you.
Thanks, broadcasters. If you can leave the call now, please. Written guys, if you use the raise hand function, we'll be right back with you. Thank you.